everybody, it's Wallguy, and it's finally time for me to talk about Titanfall. A lot of people have already given it first impressions. I've kind of remained silent. This is partly because I wanted to get to know the game well before I discussed it, and partly because it was really apparent early on in the beta that my feelings on the game are very complicated. I mean, the game at first glance is undoubtedly fun, but in Titanfall's case, is that really enough? I mean, due to the game design, I found myself asking not if the game is fun, but is it fun for the right reasons? Is the enjoyment I'm getting from the game some kind of an illusion? It's a strange thing to ask about a game, and it's not something I've felt while playing games in the past, but that is what I'm going to discuss in great detail here today. Now, before I go on, please hit that like button or subscribe if you haven't yet. Also, feel free to share your feelings on Titanfall or respond to any of the questions that I'm about to raise in this video. Okay, first of all, I want to state that I've been looking forward to trying out Titanfall since I first saw footage. Online FPS games with super fast-paced action are really right up my alley, and Titanfall seemed to fit this mold to a T, and then you add the acrobatic freedom that the parkour brings to the game. And I figured that the game would be a very high skill-based game where the elite players could really distinguish themselves from the pack by mastering all that Titanfall had to offer. I'm not really sure that the game has delivered on my expectations of that. The impression that many people had of Titanfall was that it was kind of a return to an older school of thinking. But I'm thinking that perhaps it's really at the forefront of the continuing movement to further dumb down the competitive games that we play. Some people have already lightly touched on what I'm getting to, and I won't beat around the bush any longer. The big point of contention in this game is the AI-controlled bots. And I've heard arguments that they're stupid and they're pointless, they pose no real challenge, they need to be buffed. Others mention that the number of players should be increased while slightly reducing the bots. And then there's those that just want them gone completely. But the discussion doesn't really go beyond that usually, at least from what I've heard so far. What I want to know is, why are the bots there in the first place? If I step into the mind of a game developer, I'm guessing that during development of Titanfall, various player counts were tried. They've actually even mentioned that they did try multiple counts, and 6 versus 6 is what they felt right. But they tried, say, 10 versus 10, 12 versus 12, you know, whatever. And they designed the maps to facilitate good movement of the Titans, of course, because that's a big feature of the game. And they also need to have, you know, places where the players can do their parkour and all that stuff. The maps needed to be of decent size to facilitate interesting Titan combat, because they're big and they can move pretty fast, so they cover a lot of ground. You need a lot of room to kind of move them around. But what the devs quickly found out is that the optimal map size for fun Titan combat and the optimal player combat map size didn't really match up. Now, larger maps are needed for the Titan combat, but non-Titan combat needs far less space to feel right. Now, imagine the current map sizes, but with 12 versus 12 action instead. There'd quickly be a glut of Titans which, you know, the maps wouldn't support. They wouldn't have room to move around. It would just be a traffic jam. It wouldn't be fun. But then on the flip side, if you go 6 versus 6 like the game is, it works great for the Titans. It's just about the right size, but it leads to slow-paced player-to-player action. Now, Respawn's way of resolving these issues was to introduce the bots. Now, for better or worse, they're a part of the game, and we just got to deal with it. The question is, do we like them or do we not like them? But the bots also came with a lot of other benefits, I guess, I'm making the air quotes, that I've noticed. We hear from many players that the game has great hit detection, but my experience is that the hit detection is really much more like Call of Duty, with a little bit more consistency due to the dedicated servers. I believe people are putting the game's connection on a pedestal due to kind of a subliminal trick the game's playing on their mind. The bots are not online opponents. I mean, they move slow, they're predictable, and they drop pretty easy. They're not online opponents, and it's easy to make interactions with the bots work right and lag free, just like in an offline game. And there are so many more bot interactions than player interactions that your mind's telling you that, for the most part, the game's running great. In addition, the bots distract players' attention, so you can often get free shots on them because they're not ready for you. I mean, in other games, all player interactions lead to like a race of reflexes and aiming skill. In Titanfall, that really only happens a couple of times a match, if that. I've also often heard people say that they don't rage while playing Titanfall. This is also due to the fact that the bots give people the illusion of doing well. People rage when they die too often, even if they deserve to die. They rage when the connection sucks. I mean, Titanfall takes those issues out of the equation, since about, say, 3/4 to 80% of a player's game interactions while playing are with offline components. I mean, it's not uncommon to see the worst player on a losing team with a 3-to-1 KDR. It's really a bit of madness. So the bots give the perception of fast-paced action, they limit raging, and they make the game's connection seem better than it actually is. And in addition, they make real opponents weaker than they normally would be in a purely player-based online game. A lot of people are going to be drawn to this game based on these perceived successes that are subliminally working through them while they play the game. They might not even realize they're essentially playing a game that is mostly an offline experience. Now, is it fun? Sure, yeah, I have fun with it. But so are single-player campaigns, and they really do what they do better than Titanfall does. Personally, I play online games for competition because competition is fun. So I play for fun because competition is fun. Some people play online just to have fun. There's my air quotes again. And they almost present that other people enjoy competing. They don't see competition as fun. These people might get gratification from pounding brain-dead bots in Titanfall, but for everyone else, I'm not sure Titanfall will have staying power. I know personally the game began to feel kind of repetitive once I was able to distinguish between real opponents and bots. After that point, the action felt a lot slower because online interactions with other players was relatively infrequent. There's really a lot more that could be said. Perhaps I'll make another video if you guys are interested. Will I be getting Titanfall? I'm not sure really either way at this point. I've got a few weeks to figure it out. Let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about the game? Do you agree with me? Do you have the same concerns I do? Or are you just kind of in that honeymoon phase? You're really enjoying the game and you're not finding the faults I'm finding with it right now?